All right, so hi everyone. For this session, we'll be exploring the ThreeFold Grid HTTP server, and we'll see how to use this with Docker. So we have a repo right now on my personal GitHub, and we'll have a short presentation on the tool. Then we'll show you how to use it. And really, it's a work in progress, let's say. So feel free to give feedback on this. So the ThreeFold Grid HTTP server with Docker, it simplifies interaction with the ThreeFold Grid by exposing grid client functionality over HTTP. So basically, some key features we have, it's using a RESTful API. So you can access grid features using standard HTTP requests. And it supports various grid modules, so you can play around and query the grid for twins, contracts, node farms. And also we're using it with a Docker image, so it's easy to deploy across various environments. And you can, of course, test it locally. So key benefits, since it's using a HTTP, you have abstraction over grid client complexities, and it simplifies development and integration. So it means that any programming language can use the HTTP client capabilities. So this can give you a lot of flexibilities, and it can run across different operating system and platforms since it's using Docker. Use cases. So basically, we're working on this. It's like a small part of a bigger project to have, let's say, a WordPress deployment on the grid using an e-store where you can then have a plugin. So this would interact with the Grid HTTP client we're showing today. So basically, let's say a concrete use case, you have a Nextcloud deployment on the grid that you want to sell for people to use. So they can go on your website, your e-store, and they can buy the product. And when they buy it, the HTTP server in the back end will deploy the deployment for them. And then it can send to their email address the information so they can log in. So it's really to make it accessible for people to deploy and have a, let's say, commercial application on the grid. So let's have a look. So here we have the repository. If you want to read lots of information in there, basically you just clone it. Then you build your own config JSON file. So here's the example. So for today, we'll be using mainnet. So you just write main here and your seed phrase. Make sure you're all set up with this, and then you just build it. So we'll skip this step for today because it takes a couple of minutes to do. And also, once you have it, you just run docker compose up and D for daemon, and then it's accessible at the local address here on the port 3000. And if you want to stop it, you just do docker compose. So for example, here we have the local host. So if we run ping, we get the answer pong. So we know that it's working well. And then also if you want to check the logs, you just run this line on your CLI on your terminal. So basically, let's see if we show the screen here. So if I do curl, you see here I get pong. So basically that's the same thing that if I was running it on the URL, but for some stuff you need a payload, so it's easier to use curl or something like that instead of going directly with the URL. So let's say you want to get information on a farm, on the information of the farm ID1, you just use this, and then you get all the different information. Of course, it's you need to use this. Let's say you set a deployment or an application that use this output. You don't just use it directly, but that shows you how to use it. And let's say now we want to create a farm directly with this. So let's say here, I'll show you guys. So let's say curl, we have our post here, and then we'll send to the localhost 3000 farm create, and then let's call it my new farm demo 1. And then here you can see that it's been created, result version. So we can see even the farm ID here. So if you go on the dashboard, then you go in farm, your farm. You see here I tested this morning. So it's not here, it's not there yet. So sometimes it takes a couple of minutes. So you see here, my new farm demo. So basically what we did, we used the HTTP API to create a new farm directly on the grid. So that was easy, right? Not that much difficult. So if you want to go further, then we can use scripts to make things that are a little bit more complex. So just to give you an example, this is how we created a farm. If we want to have this in a TypeScript file, this is what it looks like. So basically this will create this farm, so you can change the name, but it's the same result as using this curl line, but it's using a TypeScript file. So what we'll do now is that we will deploy a VM with this technique. So just for fun, we can show you the code on this. So basically, maybe just create farm. As you see, it's really simple. You just get Axios, then you do a asynchronous function to create a farm, and then you basically just send the URL, well, the content here, but you add the farm name. So here to deploy the VM, you can have a look. So really, it's once you know how to use this. Let's say with this basic example, you can build it for your own use case. So basically here we set the necessary to read the line, then this is the display message. Okay, so if I go in the README, let's say I want to deploy. First, I just want to get some help. I need help. How does it work? So here you have the README with all the help. So basically, you can see that this is for the deployment. So this is all the parameters that it will ask you. So let's say we want to deploy it. We just run it, then it has the name of the VM. For now, it's default VM, so you can put the VM you want. So let's call it VM1. Then same thing here, you can call it for a machine. Or you can just press enter to use the default value. So here we will mount the disk on default disk. And default network, let's call it network 1, just to show you how it works. And then this is a basic description for your application. For now, we'll use the basic micro VM F-list, but this is where you would put your different F lists. So let's say you're deploying Nextcloud, WordPress, something else that has an official F list or F list you built. You can do this. And then the node ID. I use well, let's go with the dashboard if you want to see how to do this. There's different ways to see which nodes are available. So let's say here you want to find a suitable node. Pre-public IP, let's say. Want to make sure we have a public IP for this one. So we can see 1, 2, 8, 1, 8, 10. So let's go with 8. And this asks you for where is your SSH key. So basically this is your home folder. So this is a standard place where we use it. So then it says that it's deploying. And you'll see once this is done, you'll be able to see it in the contracts. So we can see here that we have the deployment is done. So if, let's say you want to get information on this, you can run get info. The VM, we named it VM1. So we see this is all the information. And of course, this is what you usually see when you deploy with the dashboard. So this is all just scripted. So of course you can use it as you wish. It's really to show you how to use the API with the HTTP. But once you add this, you can query anything that is possible on the grid, but via HTTP server. So if you go here on the virtual machine page on the dashboard, you'll see the VM. Well, let's say in the meantime. So here we have the IP address of the VM. So let's say we want to SSH into the VM, and then ta-da. So we can see here it's called machine 1. So that's the name we gave for the machine during the deployment. So we SSH into it, so it works. And we can see here on the dashboard, this is our deployment. So this information, it's basically the same thing when you run the previous line. So when we said get info. So this is here, there. And let's say you want to delete it. Now you run delete, enter the VM, the name of the VM, and then you just run it. So we're deleting your workload. So basically, as I showed you, this is really a simple use case. But once you add this, you can do all kinds of different deployment. So let's say, as I said, you add a plugin on WordPress e-commerce, and that it's talking directly with this HTTP server. Then you can deploy different kind of application, and it will all be automatically. So if we go back here, the VM is not there anymore on the account. Here we see it still, but it takes a couple of, sometimes 1 minute or 2 until it's really done. And let's say you were doing this here, and you don't get any, let's say output in object. You just get something like this 2 square bracket closed and deleted, then you know it didn't work. So you can check. So we see here that the node contracts are not there anymore, so it's been deleted. So maybe a small recap. So basically, how we do this, we just deploy this repo, then we build the Docker file, then set your words and the network. And then once you add this, you can deploy with the basic script we gave. But for a different use case, of course, you would need to add different kind of script, but this gives you the basic for this kind of deployment. And maybe if you want to have more information on how to use this, basically this is using the ThreeFold Grid SDK TypeScript. So if we go down here, we can see the Grid HTTP server. That's basically what we did. We use this, but instead of deploying it locally, it's deployed on Docker, so it works everywhere. And then if you want to add more information, you can read this. And if you go in modules, basically it's using the modules of the Grid client. So once you have this information, you can create your own script. Was that clear?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Meek.
Nice. So this is really, like, as I said, the first step. Once you know how to do this, of course, you can deploy on the dashboard or Pulumi or Terraform, but now you can use any kind of language and then use the HTTP API. And then it's really fun, I think, for a bigger use case, I guess, if you want to link it with an e-commerce. So maybe we'll have the opportunity to show you guys this later on. But for now, that's what we have.
All right, very cool. Yeah, this is neat. So if you want to build something that has a back-end component that creates deployments on the grid for any reason, then this would be a nice way to do it versus something like the dashboard, which is a front end that users interact with directly to create deployments using their own keys. So yeah, as you're saying, this might be cool if you wanted to build some kind of business or something that users pay you and then you create deployments on their behalf. And yeah, coming soon will be this WordPress thing.
Yeah, one step away from this, right?
With the next class. Yeah. Any day now.
Next demo, maybe. Who knows? All right. So good to see you guys. Thanks for joining this demo, and we'll publish this soon on our official channel. So thanks for being here, and see you at the next session.
All right. Thank you, Max.
Bye.